The Locked On Podcast Network Top 100 comes out today. I'll tell you where I had Jordan Love in the quarterback hierarchy and the rest of the Green Bay Packers that I voted for.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast to iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. You will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Jordan Love. In the quarterback hierarchy, where is he? Where did I rank him? The Locked On Podcast Network did a top 100 that the hosts got to vote on. And so I had to go through the process of figuring out where I had Jordan Love. Now, this was in the hierarchy of everyone in the NFL. And the way that I did it was I did have positional value matter to me only to a point. I think the best guys in the NFL are all quarterbacks because I just think that job is so far and away the most impactful thing and the hardest. Like, playing quarterback is the hardest job in sports. And so the guys who are really good at it deserve to be at the top of these lists. Like, I think Myles Garrett is probably better than Joe Burrow net in terms of like better at his thing than the other guy. But Joe Burrow is clearly doing a much more difficult thing. So that stuff has to matter. And that's where I have this cutoff point. So I have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. That is my 4. And this was, by the way, before I heard from all of you about Justin Herbert. A lot of you believe Justin Herbert is not a no doubt top 5 quarterback. By the way, the NFL agreed. They had him at 7, I believe, on their quarterback rankings in the Jeremy Fowler rankings. We will heretofore no longer be discussing anyone else's rankings. These are the Locked On rankings. They are the rankings of record on the Locked On Podcast Network. That includes Locked On Packers. So that was a clear top 4 to me. Now I have the benefit of getting to decide how much I care about how good a rookie was. I have, and this is a little crazy maybe, but I have another mini tier here. And my next mini tier for quarterbacks is Jaden Daniels at 5, Justin Herbert at 6, and Jordan Love at 7. And I think that there's actually some similarities there. Jaden Daniels comes in, absolute phenom, older player, coming out of college. There were some questions. Does he have the same upside as Caleb Williams? He doesn't have the same physical tools as Drake May, doesn't have the same frame, but comes into the league and just plays unbelievable football. Has, for my money, the greatest quarterback rookie season of a generation at least. Justin Herbert was the last guy that had that kind of rookie season. And he has been productive without great receivers. I hear the criticisms about not winning. I really do. I also understand that for a lot of his career, he's been throwing to, the carcass of Mike Williams and Josh Palmer and these guys that just would not be starting for most other teams. He is maybe pound for pound the most physically gifted quarterback in the NFL. Like, I think it's him and Josh Allen because Herbert is even a better runner than he gets credit for and even a better runner than he shows. I think on talent and production, he's had those high level 4,000 yards. I'm going to carry this offense by sheer force of will seasons. I don't think Greg Roman or any of his offensive coordinators are as good as Matt LaFleur. I think the offensive line is worse than what Jordan Love has, and I think those receivers are just as bad, probably worse than what Jordan Love has, and he still produces at a high level. Did he have a worse playoff game than Jordan Love? Yes. So I am open to the idea that in a year when we do this, that any of these three guys can be in that top tier, can be the fourth, the fifth, the sixth best player in the NFL. Because I think any of those three guys can get into that top tier. I think there is a clear drop off after this to the next group. And so this is for me, Jordan Love, right now. And I get accused of being a Jordan Love homer, like I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't. I think this is a totally reasonable place to have him, given the production, given the hindrances, given the drop rates, given the high-end talent, given the big games that he has won going back to 2023, the Chiefs, the Lions in Detroit, the Cowboys in Dallas when he had a perfect passer rating until Joe Barry's defense puked all over themselves. I think right now, Jordan Love heading into this season is the seventh best quarterback in the NFL. And I think that is a reasonable place to put him. And to me, there is that tier. I think there's a considerable drop off. I have Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love at 20, 21, and 22 on my rankings. Like I have Chris Jones right after, and then Dak Prescott. So really, Dak Prescott should probably be in this tier. But I did have 1, 2, 3, Chris Jones, and then Dak. Dak, it would be easy to forget Dak Prescott was the MVP of the NFL December of 2023. And I think that is, I remember that because I believe that the win in Dallas means something because that team was really good. That version of Dak Prescott was really good. The version we saw last year, not so good. But that version we've seen that guy. And we've also seen him wilt in the playoffs a little bit at times. And that has to be factored in here. But in the regular season, he's a really good quarterback. And you can't look down this list and go, well, all these other guys are super clutch in the playoffs. That just hasn't really been the case. Certainly not over the length of their career. So I have Dak Prescott at 8. And then Matthew Stafford is my quarterback 9. I think you can make the case for Stafford higher. I think you can make the case for him at 6. The play last year, though, I thought the age started to show. I thought he was more inconsistent. He can still crank it up. Like Matthew Stafford on a heater is still awesome. But like that offense, Kyren Williams was good running the ball. They still had Puka Nacua. And the offense was just not elite. If you're one of the top quarterbacks in the league, I want an offense where if you are the quarterback, it is elite almost no matter what. That's what I believe. And so this is also rankings going into this year where we're talking about a guy now closer to 40 than 30 who the team was like not super sure they wanted to pay him. I think that stuff matters here too with the age curve of these quarterbacks. And I have Jared Goff right after him. That is an interesting place for those two guys to be. I have them pretty similar in terms of the tiers. I actually have Jared Goff one spot ahead of Josh Jacobs. We'll get to some of the other Packers on my list here coming up. So that's quarterback 9 for Jared Goff. I think that's right actually where ESPN had him as well. He is a top 10 quarterback over the last 2 seasons for sure. Like all of the stuff that he does not get credit for, the around him, the environment, the coaching, all that stuff is true. But you still have to go out and you have to punch the buttons. And he is still, from a throwing the ball standpoint, he can rip throws, backside digs and deep posts and these outcuts. He can drive the ball. He can put the ball wherever he wants. If he is not pressured, he can put the ball where he would be an all-time 7-on-7 quarterback. Now we'll see with the stakes changing a little bit and the circumstances changing and the play calling changes, how that changes for him. And then I kind of have a tie here. at 10. I have 10 and 11, those guys right next to each other, Jalen Hurts and CJ Stroud. And the Stroud crowd is going to get mad at me. I understand it, but you got to play better. There was clear regression last year for whatever context issues that there were, and they existed. It led to bad habits that hurt the team. And the productivity is just not there. I don't care if I am calling plays for you. It can't be that bad. I don't care if I am blocking for you. It can't be that bad. And it was. Like, if he ends up being a really good player, it will go down as one of the least productive early career seasons. Like, CJ Stroud was talked about as a top 10 quarterback last year. He was not one. Or 2 years ago, going into 2024. And then he performed like a bottom 8 quarterback last year. I still believe in the talent. People act like I think he sucks. Being the 11th best quarterback does not mean I think you suck. That means I think you are above average. And then Jalen Hurts is kind of the inverse, where everything around him is great, but he is also produced at a high level. Yes, he's played well in some big games. They don't win because of Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts does not stop them from winning. And that matters. His rushing value is unique. He is a part of the most unstoppable play in the NFL, a meaningful part. And I can't take that away from him. Now, some of the other Packer players who made my list, I want to talk about them next on Locked On Packers. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've got a plethora, a full dance card for the Open Championship at Royal Portrush. Can't wait for that one. Some long shot bets in there. Cam Young. Got some top 10 bets. Guys like Russell Henley. Go get. And while I'm placing a same game parlay, you could be watching a bet right into the 9th inning, if that's your thing. FanDuel makes it easy to feel like you're part of the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. I just want to put a quick bow on the quarterback thing here. I was going through my list and realized I put those 11 quarterbacks in my top 100. CJ Stroud was my 53rd overall player, and I do not have another quarterback on the list. So that, to me, when people say top 10, I sometimes get annoyed because I'm like, oh, so-and-so is not a top 10 player at his position. It's like, well, like the linebacker list that came out recently. Fred Warner got like all the 1 votes. His lowest position vote was 2. Roquan Smith was 2, but I think his lowest position, like the lowest someone ranked him, was 10. So that shows you the enormous variance. Like there is a top 1 linebacker in the NFL right now. It's Fred Warner and everybody else. Sometimes, like right now, it kind of doesn't matter. A top 10 quarterback. What does that mean? No. Are you a top 5 quarterback? Are you a top 4? Because there is a clear, to me, top 4. Are you in that top 4? Well, if you're 7, you're probably closer to the 11th best quarterback than the 4th best quarterback. And that is, in fact, what my rankings bear out. Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, they're 20 spots away from the top guys. And you know, the next group, like Matthew Stafford, right down, it's about 20. It's right in that same range. So that to me, I think I'm not doing the top 10. I would do a top 11. Maybe I would tie Hurts and Stroud to make it 10, but it's still 11 names. So other Packers that I have on my list. Remember, Jordan Love I have is the 22nd overall player, just to give you an idea of some of the other players around him. I have TJ Watt 17, Kyle Hamilton 18, Nick Bosa 19, Chris Jones at 23, Kirby Joseph. Now, for those of you who are going to say Jordan Love is way too high, let me just give you a couple names that this is for me, after. Kirby Joseph, safety. Creed Humphrey, really good player, but a center. Cam Hayward at 27, Jared Verse at 28, Penei Sewell 29, Puka Nacua at 30. Those are all good players. All pro players at their positions. But if Jordan Love is the 7th best quarterback in the league, again, what he's asked to do is more complicated. It's harder. And I value the quarterback more. I think Jordan Love there works. If you want to flip him with Chris Jones and Kirby Joseph and Creed Humphrey, that's fine. So he's at 27. Okay. I think Jordan Love belongs in the top 30 of players in the NFL. And we go down this list. I don't know that these other players are better than he is. Okay. But there are other Packers that I voted for. Now, I'm not going to tell you. I prefaced this on social media. I said there's one player that I did not vote for who made our top 100 list. Go check out the top 100 list, Locked On Sports Today, in that feed. I also host that show. But we did a top 100 show. Go check it out. Go listen. I cannot tell you right now, because this show is going to come out before that show, of the players I voted for who made it and who did not. But I will tell you, one player I did not vote in my top 100 made the list, and 3 players that I voted for did not make the list, including some players I had pretty high. I had Josh Jacobs at 48. Josh Jacobs at 48. That's pretty high. That's pretty high. He deserved it. He was outstanding last year. One of the most productive running backs in the NFL he changed the offense inside the 10-yard line. One of the reasons we talked about this with Jordan Love, that one of the reasons he did not have sexier numbers in the red zone is precisely because he knew that he could just hand the ball to Jordan Love or to Josh Jacobs whenever he needed to. And so that is really valuable. That is really, really valuable. Now, I skipped him, and that's appropriate because he's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. I have Xavier McKinney at 40. Right after Trey Hendrickson, right before Nico Collins, Jeffrey Simmons, Bijan Robinson. All-pro safety, was leading the league in interceptions for a long time. 5 interceptions in the first 5 games. The defense doesn't work without Xavier McKinney playing at the level that he did last year. And so I think he has to be a top 50 player in the NFL, given what he did last season and given what I expect him to do this year. I expect him to be in the mix, to be an all-pro again. I made the case that I don't see any reason why that can't happen for him. I don't know why he would regress unless he gets hurt. And all these guys, if they get hurt, they don't belong on this list. So Xavier McKinney at 40, Josh Jacobs at 48. Now, we can have a conversation about the age curve for running backs and how long is he going to be able to maintain this. I get it. But he's still a pretty young player. That 30 is really that age cliff, and it starts kind of 27, 28. So he's getting close to that. But last year was the most snaps he'd played in his NFL career. Most attempts, most games. Maybe he's turned a corner on his training, on his body. Maybe he has to do less this season, but I think Josh Jacobs, look, you have Marshawn Lloyd, you've got Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks. They don't have to lean on him the same sort of way. I have Zach Tom at 70 on my list, right after Greg Rousseau and right before Brandon Ayuk. Zach Tom was excellent last year in pass protection, and that is the most important thing that an offensive lineman can do, is protect the quarterback. Now, were there some inconsistencies more than you wanted? Yes. Am I leaning a little bit on some pedigree and some past performance? Maybe so. But he is a player who I think coming into this season, the expectation should be for him that he plays at a Pro Bowl level. He is capable of playing at a Pro Bowl level. It's the consistency against the best players in the league. And he admitted he wasn't quite on his game early in the season. You know, the Houston pass rushers early in the year really gave him some trouble. You'd like to see him coming out a little bit, firing a little bit faster. There were some big moments when he got beat by the best players he faced. That's the next chance for him to level up. I think he can do it this season. And by the way, the advanced numbers really liked him. The grades really liked him last year. Pro Football Focus really liked him last year, frankly, more than I did. And the last Packer that I voted for was Rashawn Gary. I have him at, 84 on this list. And I think right in a list of players that you would say probably similarly positioned with him. Jalen Johnson, Zach Seiler, Terry McLaurin, Christian Darrisaw, DeForest Buckner, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Those are the players that I have in that same sort of range. Like they're not frontline, we can build a whole team around you stars. That's why they're further down this list. 84 is further down this list. But still really, really good football players. Core foundational pieces to their teams. And I made the case for Rashawn Gary yesterday. I don't feel like I need to make it all over again. The contract is not a problem to me. I know it's a problem for some fans. Like Myles Garrett makes 2/3 more than Rashawn Gary makes. And if you look at the guys after him on the list of players, highest paid defense, like Andrew Van Ginkel, who's 30, by the way, who's older than Rashawn Gary, who's had one productive season as a pass rusher in his career. And it was on a situation where he's blitzing in all these crazy exotic ways for Brian Flores. Just got paid basically what Rashawn Gary is getting paid. I'd rather have Rashawn Gary personally. That's just me. Let's move on from this list. And I want to talk about RPOs. We're going to do that next on Locked On Packers. The Locked On NFL Top 100 is here. Voted on by the NFL hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our Top 100 was formed by experts that cover their teams and players every day. Hey, that's me. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss my reaction to where the Packers players landed or didn't land. We'll be talking about that on tomorrow's show. Great nugget in the FTN Almanac, highlighted by Aaron Nagler. And it is about the Packers' RPO game. Okay. So last year, Green Bay led the league in plays that FTN charted as RPOs. They had a DVOA that was the highest for any team with at least 20 RPOs on the season. So any team that had a volume number of RPOs, or by the way, 20 is one a game. The Packers were the best really the best RPO team in the league. Like you can just say that comfortably. Now, we think sometimes of RPO as a direct, like the collegiate RPO, the post-snap RPO is the put the ball in the gut of the running back and read that conflict defender and decide, do I give or do I throw? The Packers do some post-snap RPOs. And I thought it would be a bigger part of their offense, frankly, last year, 2 years ago, the 2023 season, given the relative inexperience of Jordan Love and given that was something that he was asked to do at Utah State. I thought I know it's in the playbook. And they haven't done it. It's something Dusty Evely and I have talked about a lot. I kind of wish they'd do it more. More of the kinds of RPOs that they have are these pre-snap RPOs. And there are opportunities for the Packers, like when it looks like one thing and Jordan Love can just rise and fire, those sorts of opportunities. The Packers do that, and they're very good at it. But the thing about an RPO in any form, whether it is a pre-snap RPO or a post-snap RPO, so are you reading that conflict defender in real time with the ball snapped, or are you deciding at the line of scrimmage, I can either throw the ball or run it? And then there's the kind of the old school RPO where there's two plays called in the huddle and you can can it. Some people still consider that to be an RPO. But no matter what version of it you're getting, it is ultimately on the quarterback to make the right decision. So are you relying on the quarterback to make the right pre-snap reads? More disguised than ever in the NFL on what's going on pre and post snap because teams defensively need an advantage. So can you get, as a quarterback, can you get your team into the optimal play? And this was the original check with me RPO. It was single high safety, throw the ball, 2 high safety, run the ball. Like it was not entirely that simple, but that was more or less the idea. Are you in a favorable run fit situation? Do you have the box to run the ball? If yes, like that was sort of the order of operations. If yes, you run. If no, you pass. Now, if you are that predictable, teams kind of know that, right? Like you have to be able to have these curveballs and changeups. That's why the Packers had these plays where Jordan Love is coming down at the line of scrimmage and saying, hey, you block him. There's the histrionics of it, and it's theater. It's for the defense to make you think, okay, they're setting up this run game, and then they go play action and they've got something for you over the top. But it is incumbent on the quarterback. So it's not Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to change the play at the line of scrimmage level of, the responsibility is on the quarterback. That's also much harder for example, FTN Fantasy to chart. Because how do they know? But you still have to decide. If you're reading the conflict defender, you've got to make the right decision. And alongside this is something that I think bodes well for this offense as it moves forward. And it was something that they struggled with in 2021, struggled with in 2022, as 2 high safeties became part of the DNA of modern football, as defenses evolved to stop the big play, high-flying passing attack offenses. The 2021 Packers could not run defenses out of those shells. The 2022 Packers could not consistently run defenses out of those shells. And the 2023 Packers were inconsistent getting teams out of those shells. And some teams, even as the running game became more apparent that it was really good, they didn't stop playing those 2 deep shells by and large. They continued to get favorable looks. It's not a surprise that the 4 or 5 best teams at the top of the offensive rankings, the Ravens, the Bills, the Lions, the Packers, happen to be the 4 best run teams in the NFL. Because your ability to stay in favorable downs and distances and stay patient, this is something that, by the way, late career Aaron Rodgers especially could not do, is stay patient. Like there were drives. You go back and watch the Seahawks game. There was a drive in the second half. I remember highlighting this after the game where it was like 8 or 9 runs. It was a Lions-like drive. And it was we're going to snatch your soul drive. And you set the tone, and that was more like we're finishing you off. Jordan Love, more than happy to do that. Matt LaFleur, more than happy to do that. But that's on the quarterback. And when you have those decisions, some quarterbacks might get a little jumpy. Hey, we actually have the right look here to run, but let's see if we can hit him with a play action. Or maybe I think that they're, rotating and they're going to be in single high. And so let's throw this. You have to make those reads correctly. You can't be the best RPO team in the NFL and not have a quarterback who understands how to read defenses. Now, we can't forget the Malik Willis part of this, because he had 2 games where he unalived defenses with not just RPOs, but true option reads and single wing craziness and all sorts of fun stuff. So he contributed to that DVOA. He contributed to that positive play. But over the balance of the season, this is a Jordan Love thing, and it goes back to 2023. I know that there were times last year I got frustrated. Hey, just let Jordan Love play quarterback. I don't know that I gave enough credence to how teams were defending the Packers, even as they were running the ball. Because by and large, teams were like, if we're a 2-high team, we're just not coming out of that. You're just going to have to beat us. And the Packers showed a willingness to do that and an effectiveness doing it. And that's going to be the key for them. If teams are going to sit in those shells and not let you create the big plays, that the Packers are always hunting. They want to find those big plays. Then you have to be able to run the ball, and you have to have a quarterback who's willing to get in those situations and identify what is happening, get you in the premium play for the premium look, and then go execute it. All right, the top 100. We're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to talk about it a lot. We will do that tomorrow on Locked On Packers. By the way, a new series of ranking the Packers is out. My Wednesday rankings, those are fun. And this is the really fun part of the list where it's the best players on the team. All of these names, you know. So go check that out over the leap.football. Follow me on the social medias. Follow the podcast on the social medias. Follow the podcast on your podcast platform of choice. Go subscribe over on our YouTube page so you can stay locked on Packers.